Good morning. My name is Gene Chan, hearing officer for San Francisco Public Works. Cerise Waiters is the clerk of this hearing. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterward through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual hearing, there is no sign-in sheet. So if you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the address listed on the hearing notice. This public hearing is being held to consider two items. Order number 211889 to consider an appeal for the illegal pruning of two street trees adjacent to 3060 26th Street. The fine issued is $5,040. And also order number 211895. This order supersedes order number 211890. And it is to consider an appeal for the illegal pruning of one street tree adjacent to 2962 24th Street. The fine issued is $2,520. My job as the hearing officer is to gather the facts for the hearing item, listen to your testimonies, and help our Director of Public Works make a determination. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to the director. The director will make the final determination. When the director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of them if you have provided contact information. The hearing will proceed as follows. First, I will ask Public Works staff to speak and present the case. There is no time limit for this presentation. Then I will allow the property owner to speak, and then any member of the public who wants to speak. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left. If you are a party to this proceeding, I will call on you to speak. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. If you are a member of the public who wants to speak, please wait for me to call for public comments. Then use Zoom's raise your hand feature if you're on a computer to put yourself in the queue to speak. If you're dialing in on your phone, dial *9 to indicate you're raising your hand. When it is your turn, I will recognize you. If you're on your phone and you're muted, press *6 to unmute yourself. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department or the applicant. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing. After all comments are completed, I will close the item. We will now begin this hearing. At this time, we will open the hearing to public comments. Members of the public may make comments on matters that are within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Are there any public comments at this time that are not related to items on today's agenda?
I don't see any hands, Mr. Chan.
Okay. Seeing no comments for this item, we'll close the public comment and move on to the first item on today's agenda, order number 211889. May I have Public Works make its presentation?
Good morning. My name is Brian Ong, and I'm with San Francisco Public Works Bureau of Urban Forestry. This is for the administrative hearing for July 16th, 2025. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. So before we go into the cases, I'm just going to go through some informational slides. So a tree ordinance establishes authorization and standards for addressing a wide range of issues regarding trees. San Francisco's urban forestry ordinance is codified under Article 16 of the Public Works Code. And Section 808 is the protection of trees and landscape material. So injury to or destruction of trees are prohibited. It shall be unlawful for any person to intentionally, maliciously, or through gross negligence injure or destroy a street tree, any tree on city property, a significant tree, or a landmark tree. In addition to the penalty set forth, the director may require any person who removes or destroys a tree in violation of the provisions of Article 16 to pay for each tree removed or destroyed a sum of $10,000 or the tree's replacement value, whichever is greater. And the director may require any person who injures a tree in violation of the provisions of this Article 16 to pay a sum of the money equal to the diminishment of the tree's value as set forth in the current edition of the Guide for Plant Appraisal. This does not apply. Basically, for Section 806, permitted planting and removal of street trees. If the department grants a tree removal permit, it shall require that a street tree or trees of equivalent replacement value to the one removed be planted in the place of the removed tree or impose an in lieu fee. This is just for construction work and protection of trees required. There's just a few definitions. Basically, injure or injury shall mean pruning which in and of itself will kill or cause a tree to decline, or severing of all part of a tree. I already mentioned the $10,000 tree replacement value. And so basically the Article 16, trees are more than just beautiful additions to urban life. They are an essential component of the city's ecosystem and provide enormous environmental and social benefits. A permit is required to remove any street tree, significant tree, or landmark tree. It is illegal to injure a tree. Injuries can include excessive pruning and malicious acts like nailing objects to trees or negligent acts like vehicular accidents. An illegal removal of a tree requires replacement with an equivalent inches in total diameter of the tree or trees that were removed. This requirement cannot be modified. It is the property owner's responsibility to know the law. Ignorance is not an excuse. And so basically there's some best management practice when pruning trees. Basically do not remove more than 25% of the tree canopy each year. Doing this will lead to will stress the tree out, and it may produce weakly attached branches the following year. Do not cut back to the branch that is less than 1/3 or 1/2 the size of the main branch. Severing all or parts of the tree and topping. You can selectively remove branches throughout the tree and not just the lower branches. Removing the lowest branches when it is unnecessary is sometimes called limbing up. This can cause a tall spindly tree to form, and it can also reduce trunk flare and girth of the tree. Lower branches help keep the vigor of the lower portion of the tree, and this is especially important in conifers. So here's some illegal practices. Do not top trees. Tree topping is the practice of cutting to a terminal branch, to a stump, or to a lateral branch that is large enough to assume the terminal role. Basically, topping is not an acceptable way to reduce a tree's canopy. In certain situations, a professional arborist may use topping to remove hazardous branches and prolong the life of a mature tree. Topping street trees in the city is legal. Anyone who tops the trees will be fined. So as I mentioned before, topping leads to weakly attached rapid new growth as the tree tries to recover energy producing leaves as quickly as possible. Basically, this tree was topped and it grew back new growth to try to recover, and the tree eventually died. Here's another photo, not of the same tree, but of similar. And basically the tree died again. You could see the spindly, weakly attached branches that the tree was trying to grow in order to produce photosynthesis. Here's another example of topping, and basically which created weakly attached limbs, and therefore this tree is prone to branch failures. Here's another photo. Improper pruning can lead to entry points for pathogens if not done correctly. And then here's topping is not the same as pollarding. Pollarding must be started when trees are young and can only be performed on certain species of trees. On the left-hand side is a good example of pollarding, and on the right-hand side is a different species, and they did not pollard and intake the new growth back to its knuckle of the tree. And so high PG&E's high voltage power line conflicts are the responsibility of PG&E's line clearance certified arborists. Basically, PG&E utilities maintain a minimum of 18 inches clearance between vegetation and high voltage conductors at all times. So PG&E will take care of the pruning around their high voltage lines. All the stuff below the transformer is low voltage, so that is designed to come into contact with the vegetation. So this is just our Street Tree SF program. Basically, we set aside $19 million in the city's general fund to prune and maintain the trees. The census completed in 2016 used to create priorities and a routine proactive tree pruning schedule for the city's 125,000 trees. You can kind of see on this map what we've completed is in gray. The yellow was in 2023, 2024, and then the greens is the 2024, 2025, and we hope to finish up in the next year of all pruning the first cycle of the trees. So we do information and outreach. We usually send door hangers when the tree crew is out there. There'll be signs put up letting them know that Street Tree SF is in the area pruning trees. So to start the hearing, this is for order number 211889 for 3060 26th Street. This is to consider an appeal for the fine issued for the illegal pruning of 2 street trees adjacent to 3060 26th Street. And the fine issued is $5,040. As you can see here, this is a photo of the tree taken in 2023. This is on the left-hand side of the tree. It's in the winter, so it doesn't have any leaves. And on the right-hand side is May of 2024. You can see that 60% of the living canopy, and there were topping cuts to the major branches, resulting in the damage to the tree. Here's another photo from 2021 when the tree has leaves, during the summertime. And you can see that most of the canopy was removed. Again, here's another photo of the first tree. You can see most of the branches, the inner branches were removed. Here's another photo from 2020, and then on the right-hand side, May 2024. This is a photo of the second tree. As you can see, kind of get a glimpse of what the tree looks like without branches or with branches. And then on the right-hand side, you can see that they pruned pretty much most of the branches, over 60% of the tree's canopy. Here's another photo in 2021. You can see most of the foliage. And then on the right-hand side, you can see what was pruned. Again, of the second tree, this is kind of depicts, that most of the branches were removed. And as I mentioned before, removing more than 25% of the canopy from a tree is extremely damaging. Basically, the tree stores energy in the branch tips, and when this stored energy is removed from the tree draws on its energy reserves and within the trunk and the roots to help produce new leaves. So if it's excessively pruned repeatedly, the tree runs out of stored energy and eventually it'll die. So to be consistent with how we deal with some of our cases, we have fined the property owner the $5,040, which is $2,520 per tree. That's the end of that presentation.
Okay, thank you. Is the property owner here to speak?
Yes, they would like to make a presentation. I'm going to promote
Okay.
them to a panelist. Just a moment. I'm not sure why it's taking a while. Okay, now it's working. Thank you. And now that you're here as a panelist, you'll need to unmute yourself once again, please.
Should we turn on video or is that not
It's up
necessary?
to you. But yes, if you want to share your screen, you can do that as well. And
Okay.
then once you begin making your presentation, I'll begin the timer and you'll have 3 minutes. Are you both going to speak or just one?
Just one of us.
Just one. Okay.
Give me one moment, please, if that's okay.
No problem.
Can you see the can you see the PDF?
We see all of your background info, your downloads.
Oh, okay.
You need
Give
to
me one
It
second
might be
here.
on a different
double-
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me share. Here we go. How about that? Now can you see it?
Not
It's
yet.
still,
It's
now it
delaying. There we
has,
go.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I think so thank you first for hearing our appeal. We appreciate that. We want to also state that we sent a appeal letter on May 7th, which also covers a lot of the detail here. And so I can just walk through the presentation very, very quickly and then answer any questions if there are any. So the key reasons we believe the fine should be waived is we did not prune these trees and therefore believe the fine should be waived. We reported overgrowth and hazards to. The other thing I want to say is, we park our car in our garage, so there's no we don't have any issue with the trees. They don't bother us per se, but a number of our neighbors have complained about the trees and they park underneath the trees on both the east side and the west side. We've gotten a number of complaints about the trees, and we've called 311 or used 311 to address those issues. We've also told our neighbors to do the same thing. In September 2023, there was a pretty significant storm that brought down major scaffolding branches, requiring a response from the San Francisco Fire Department. And they quickly removed all the hazardous limbs and removed the debris from the street and the sidewalk. And from what we can tell today, we have some few pictures. The trees seem to be very healthy and thriving today. And I can show that on the next few slides. So this is the picture on the left that we were given by the Department of Public Works. We didn't have all the other pictures that were shown earlier, but we try to show what was similar, and you can see the tree or the picture on the right. The tree seems to be doing quite well. It shows a lot of dense growth there. This is the eastbound tree, kind of a similar thing. The picture on the left is from 2023 compared to a picture from just a few days ago. And you can see that there's a lot of dense growth and the tree appears to be healthy. On the next slide, I'll show that, a photo that we have from 2023 when a couple of large branches came off the tree. And, our neighbor parked under this tree almost every day. But luckily their car was not there when this happened. We, again, went through the appropriate channels, used 311, and the fire department came up pretty quickly. That day, there was a lot of trees or a lot of limbs and branches in the street, and they did get to us rather quickly considering the situation, and they removed these dangerous limbs and the debris.
30 seconds. 30
Okay.
seconds.
I'm almost done. And so I just wanted to say, here's 2 notices or 2 emails. We reported hazards through the appropriate channels using 311. Whenever we found a cause for concern, we did our part and we notified 311. That's what we did our part when we saw an issue. And we told our neighbors to do the same thing. So thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you for your time. Are there any members of the public who wish to make comments?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay. Ranjit, I had a question. You said fire department removed the limbs in 2023, is that correct?
Yeah, the fire department removed the branches that you saw there. They took them, at least that's what we thought. They took them down. There was other branches that were on the ground, and they took those out as well.
Okay, but they did not cut the branches, right?
I mean,
Well, the branches broke off, and then they
they
Yeah.
were still
Okay,
attached to the tree, and they
removed
used
them
the
from the
saw,
tree.
took it off the tree, and then put it on the ground.
okay. So if it was detached or breaking off, they took those off, but they did not actively remove new branches that were still intact.
That's
Well,
hard
we
for us
didn't-
to say. We don't really know. Like if there was a
Okay.
branch that looked dangerous, I'm sure they would have taken it down. We weren't watching.
Sure. Okay, sure. And you did not hire anyone or remove any branches on your own.
No.
Okay. Do you know maybe if your neighbors possibly did?
We
I mean,
don't
that
have proof.
That would be speculation. I know that
Yeah.
some of our neighbors were pretty upset about these trees.
Okay. About their complaints, what were their complaints about in terms of
I
these
think
trees?
it's blocking the street and the parking areas, and then also we got complaints about blocking just the pedestrian walkways.
Okay.
They were specifically scared a branch would fall on their car and break their windshield was
Or damage their car.
yeah.
Sure. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Brian, quick question. You may not have the answer, but between the 311 service orders and when this block was pruned, do you know what that time frame was?
I do not at the top of my
Okay.
head. I could look
Okay.
into that though.
Okay.
Asset Street Trees website. It was pruned in 2019.
All right. That's all I had. If there are no other comments for the item, I will close the item and will make my recommendations to the director.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then the next item, order number 211-895 for 2962 24th Street. May I have Public Works make its presentation?
Yes. Hello, Brian Ong, San Francisco Public Works, Bureau of Urban Forestry. This is for order number 211-895 for 2962 24th Street. This is to consider an appeal for the fine issued for the illegal pruning of one tree adjacent to 2962 24th Street, and the fine issued is $2,520. And then this is the tree in question. See, it's a younger tree, and at the very top, you can see that most of the branches were removed. Here's a photo from January 2023. You can see the tree. It's fairly new, but all the main leaders are there. And then in 2024 of April, you can see that the tree was basically cut in half to the top of those wooden stakes. So in this next photo, nearly 50% of the height of the tree was removed, and at least 50% of the living foliage was removed. You can kind of see these arrows where the cuts were made, and you could basically see the tree height, and it's basically was cut in half and topped. So basically, as I said before, removing more than 25% of the canopy from the tree is extremely damaging, especially in the newer trees, and you're removing the leader. The tree will respond and start growing some weakly attached branches. So to be consistent with how we deal with similar cases, we fine the property owner $2,520. That's it.
Thank you. Is the property owner here to speak? Okay, you may speak.
Yes, they're using two different devices and I'm
Okay.
trying to get them to unmute on one.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Kind of breaking up.
Can you hear me
Hello?
now?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you guys for hearing this and moving this around. I think I had a thing scheduled in May that I attended and listened to other cases, so it was good and informative, and it's good to hear the one right before me as well. So I'm operating for my grandmother, who is 94, who owns this property. We've probably had it, I think, 50 years, 40 years. We've had long-term tenants in there the entire time. This was brought to my attention because I live in San Francisco and I'm attempting to take over all these responsibilities for my grandmother. She can't do this. So first of all, I'd like to address the email and the letter sent because one, there is zero proof that I can understand that we would have even done this. And obviously, like I need to say it, I did not cut this. Our family did not ask to cut this. No one in our family physically touched it. No one paid anyone to do it. We promptly called the tenant and questioned him. Zero. He did not ask anyone to do it. I looked around in the neighborhood. I live in the Excelsior, so it's very easy for me to go down there. I went and checked for cameras. Only our cameras are looking at this thing. No other cameras. When I called 311 to discuss this because I was unable to get a hold of DPW Urban Forest, there's no answering the phone there. I was then told, I had asked 311 to explain to me how these cases work because all I received in the mail was a before and after cut with, I think, 16 months of time between the two and no individual who took the photo. And the paperwork was not signed by anyone with an illegible digital signature. So I was unable to actually ask an individual what the deal was, but I called 311. They explained to me that there is no case associated with this. So there is no more data or metadata associated to this, meaning there is no video, there is no other evidence. That said, this tree is also okay. I went back there and it's growing fine. And in addition, you guys haven't touched trees on 24th Street since 2019. And lastly, you guys removed all the old trees on 24th Street, which we had to replace a roof due to. And the sign up there that the January 23 image shows the maple tree kind of touching. That's a historic landmark sign. We're not allowed to do anything with that except maintain it. So I guess in summation, we didn't cut this tree. We didn't ask anyone to cut this tree. Our tenant did not cut this tree. There is no evidence except for two generic photos that look like one was taken from either a vehicle or a strip from Google Street View. And lastly, the individual whom I was told took the photos, the April 24 photo, is named Allegra Mautner. And I looked at her LinkedIn and she was not with San Francisco DPW until June 23. So there's a massive discrepancy.
30 seconds.
Sure. So I guess I'm just trying to understand. And I've held off on these sunshine requests because I feel like that's just going to kick a hornet's nest. How did you guys come up with, I guess, assessing that we are the responsible party? And was any due diligence done to understand whether someone else did it? And did you use automation to produce the incident in the first place? Because, like I said, the early photo looks like an automated photo. And it's I think 16 months apart. And I also want to know why I was told that the individual who didn't join the team took the photo. And anyways, I've covered all this in email, and I'm confident, like, we didn't touch this or ask anyone to do it, and neither did our tenant. And given that there is no more artifact other than these two before and after photos, whom I think one was taken from the internet, I'm wondering how this is even remotely our responsibility. I understand, and I like the trees. I love San Francisco's trees. You know, I come from a background of horticulture, and I understand what it means to cut trees and disable them and do damage to them. So I absolutely understand all of this.
Thank you. Thank you
you.
for your testimony. Mr.
Thank
Chan?
you. Thank you. I'm going to open it up to members of the public who wish to make comments.
I guess I have
Anyone
one
from
more
the
thing.
public?
There are no hands from the
Okay.
public. Just a moment, Mr. Garcia. You have to wait for the hearing officer to direct you.
Sure.
All right, I had a question for Brian. Actually, maybe two. How do we find out that the tree was cut?
Brian Ong, Urban Forestry. I believe the inspector, it's usually through like a 311, or they're doing like another inspection in the area and they come across a tree that has been excessively pruned. I am not exactly sure how this one came across, you know, her plate and how she came across it, but it's usually from like a 311 service order that somebody from the public has informed us about, and then we'll go out
Mhm.
there and inspect it. Or if they're doing a routine inspection nearby and they just see that the tree has been pruned illegally, then they'll go and kind of inspect the tree.
Okay. Who is the urban forester?
It is Allegra. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And she was with the city at that time, right?
Yeah, so basically so it was March 17th, 2025 is when she actually let me see. We received the fine in April 2024, and then we issued it in March 2025. And I believe she was here at that time.
Okay. And then when we find out about these situations, how do we sort of assign fault to?
Okay, yeah, so just to confirm, Allegra started in 2023.
Okay.
And she just told me that they were doing a survey of all the trees on 24th Street, and that's how they came about
Okay.
this one tree. So yeah.
Okay. So when we find out about these situations, how we just kind of find the fronting property owner? Is that
Yeah, I mean
just
that's
how it
that's
usually
unless we
is?
have other evidence of like physical evidence,
Mhm.
then the only thing that we could do is contact the property owner and issue the fine to them, and then it's basically up to the property owner to either direct the fine towards someone else if they had hired somebody, or appeal and say they have, you know, why it was pruned that way, or if they had no idea. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's the only like recourse that we have, is to give it to the property owner unless we know
Sure.
exactly who it is. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. And then basically go through the process.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all the questions I had. Seeing that there were no public comments, I will close this item and make my recommendation to the director. And that concludes our hearing. This hearing is now closed. Thank you, everyone.